Hello, Matthew Bell with insuranceprescription.com, and today I wanted to talk through approximately 10 different benchmarks, milestones, and age that are going to be relevant in your retirement planning. I say approximately because there are a couple of these that are going to kind of be ranges of values, and some things are going to happen in your 60s in particular with respect to different health possibilities, cancer, and the like of this, that aren't really possible to pin down to a specific age. But in some cases, a lot of the financial milestones are going to be specific ages, so let's just get into it. So milestone number one is going to be age 50. Now at age 50, you are going to be eligible for what is called a catch-up provision. Many different employer-sponsored plans have this. This also applies to individual retirement accounts, whether they are traditional IRA or Roth IRA. If you are younger than 50, there is one particular standard that's applied to how much money you can contribute in a year. Once you attain the age of 50, then you get to add extra. So I am speaking here in 2019, and for the 401k, the normal contribution amount, if you are under 50, is $19,000, and if you are 50 or over, you get to put in an additional $6,000. Looking ahead to 2020, the contribution limit is $19,500 if you are younger than 50, and if you are older than 50, you get to put in an additional $6,500. So 50 is the cutoff. For the IRA, whether it is traditional or Roth, your contribution limit if you are under 50 is $6,000, and if you are 50 or older, you get to put in an additional $1,000, bringing you to a total of $7,000. And so that age 50 enables you to start putting away more money towards your retirement. And again, it's called a catch-up provision, probably under the assumption that many people have been a little bit lax or negligent in saving up to the time when they think their retirement is right on the horizon, and then they're able to start to catch up by putting additional money away. One more word on the catch-up provision. Even though the Internal Revenue Service allows for the catch-up provision in employer-sponsored plans like a 401k, it is not necessary that it be added by various different plans. So you want to check with your plan administrator, with your human resource department, or whoever it is that is the best to answer your questions on your own plan, and check to see whether that catch-up provision applies to you. Milestone number two is going to be the age of 55. At the age of 55, there is the potential to take penalty-free withdrawals from certain private retirement assets. Certain assets that would normally have restrictions placed on them until the age of 59 and a half, which is the next milestone. But at the age of 55, the IRS makes certain exceptions for people who have severed employment ties. So for instance, if you are laid off, if you quit, if you are taking advantage of an early retirement package at your employer, you may also be eligible for penalty-free withdrawals, at least in that year. At 59 and a half, the Internal Revenue Service allows that qualified accounts, for example, 401k, your traditional IRA, and the like of this, that have never been taxed. So you got your contributions were tax deductible when you made them. The money has grown tax deferred in both the 401k and in deductible IRAs. When you take distributions, you pay tax on all the money that is accumulated, and it'll be a combination of the money you put in as contributions and any earnings that might have been accruing in that account. 59 and a half is our third milestone, and it is the age at which the Internal Revenue Service has stated that anybody can take penalty-free withdrawals from their qualified retirement accounts. Now the fourth milestone is going to be the age of 60. Now, as a kind of tongue-in-cheek milestone, the age of 60 is the age at which many different stores start to apply senior discounts. But in a more serious and retirement savings-based analysis, the age of 60, at that age, there are certain milestones that should have been attained in terms of personal retirement savings. So, for example, Investopedia says that between the ages of 60 and 70, you should have been able to sock away between 6 and 8 times your salary. So not only is the age of 60 an age at which your retirement on many, many different traditional timetables is going to be fairly imminent, but it's also an age at which you have time to sort of take a look at the amount of savings you have been able to sock away and make a rough guess as to whether or not it's going to be adequate to propel you into your retirement. The fifth age milestone for retirement is going to be the age of 62. The age of 62, the Social Security Administration allows you to begin drawing on your Social Security benefit. Now you should bear in mind that the age of 62 is not considered the full retirement age, which means that if you start to draw from your Social Security benefit at the age of 62, you are going to take a reduction in the amount that you would have gotten at your full or your normal retirement age, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Now whether this is a good idea or not is going to depend on your specific situation. Many commentators have stated that for some people, it may be okay for them to begin to draw their Social Security benefit early. For other people, it may not. In particular, if you are part of a married couple and your Social Security benefit is the larger of the two, you should be aware that when one party dies, basically the lesser of the two benefits goes away. So there can be some wisdom in trying to maximize the benefit that you think is going to cover both of the two of you. Given the fact that whoever dies is going to keep the larger benefit, it can make sense to try to maximize that benefit. The sixth milestone is going to be the age of 65. At the age of 65, you are eligible to start to take Medicare. You can sign up for Medicare. Medicare Part A is free. Medicare's Parts B and D cost. However, you can suffer a penalty if you don't sign up for Medicare when you are supposed to. There are exceptions if you are covered under an employer plan, you're still working at 65. However, you want to make sure that you are not susceptible to the penalty, because the penalty, if it is assessed for the duration of the time you're on Medicare, that is to say, in perpetuity. The seventh milestone, I'm going to give it as a range. It's basically going to be between the ages of 65 and 67, or more precisely between the ages of 65 and 66 and 2/3. It's essentially the full retirement age of Social Security. This is going to depend on the date you were born, the year in particular, but your full retirement age or your normal retirement age is the age at which you get 100% of what is called your primary insurance amount. Now this video is not about Social Security, so I'm not going to dive into it too deeply, but I will say that the primary insurance amount can roughly, according to some of the articles that I consulted, be counted on to basically cover about 40% of your pre-retirement income. Now it's a complicated formula based on decades of your earnings history, and there's a number of different factors that go into the calculation. Again, this is not the place for that, but suffice it to say that between the ages of 65 and 67, many people will begin to draw on their Social Security benefit, and they will begin to draw on it after they have maximized it. So you get 100% of your primary insurance amount through Social Security between those ages, depending on when you were born. Now the eighth milestone is going to be the age of 70. Now the age of 70, the Social Security Administration will provide a larger benefit to people who have postponed taking their Social Security benefit past their full retirement age. So every year past your full retirement age that you do not claim Social Security, you get an 8% increase, which means that at the age of 70, you are going to be at 132% of your primary insurance amount. Now that can be very helpful for people who are counting on Social Security as a major part of their retirement plan. 8% every year for 4 years, it's just 8% times 4, which is 32, added on to 100% for your primary insurance amount, brings you to 132%. Milestone number 9 is 70 and a half. At the age of 70 and a half, the Internal Revenue Service will start to require that you take minimum distributions from qualified retirement accounts, chiefly 401ks and traditional IRAs. This also applies to things like 403B, 457, and other kinds of vehicles. Now, I get into the required minimum distribution in depth in another video. I'll put the link in the description. But suffice it to say that if you have not started to take distributions, then you will begin to have to at the age of 70 and a half. The required beginning date is actually April the 1st, the year following the year that you turn 70 and a half. But whether you want to postpone it or not is going to be dependent on your on your situation, and there are a number of factors that have to be weighed in order to make sure that you are doing what you need to do with respect to the government requirements, but also that you're not doing violence to your retirement plan and to your account. Now, the 10th milestone I'm going to record here is going to be the age of 79. This one, I confess, was added in just simply round the numbers out, but the age of 79 I feel like is an important one to point out because according to the information that I was able to find, the age of 79 is actually the average age at which a person is admitted into a nursing home. How does this pertain to retirement planning? Well, the risk of long-term care, longevity risk, and the risk that goes along with long-term care is one of the most significant risks to your retirement assets when you consider the fact that the average nursing home stay is about 2.3 years, and the median or average cost, depending on the tables that you're using, median and average aren't the same thing mathematically, but with respect to the numbers, approximately $100,000, just to make the math easy, $100,000 a year for nursing home care. If the average stay is about 2.3 years, that can easily put you 2.3 years, $230,000 for your total bill. And when you consider that the average person is going in at the age of 79, they may have been retired a decade or more. Well, at that point, you got to realize that you may suffer the addition of a considerable cost. And this is in addition to any of the other pressures of life, cost of living increases, inflation, and all of the other things that can affect your retirement portfolio. Now, bear in mind, the life expectancy in the United States ranges, the estimates are going to range. There are different tables for this. There's kind of a life table, there's a death table, a mortality table. There are different ones that are used for different calculations, but for men, average life expectancy is around 76, 78 years, and for females, it's around 81 to 84 years, so I think the total average is around 78, 79 years. So average life expectancy, and you might want to weigh this as well when you're thinking about retirement, because one way of thinking about it, and it's somewhat morbid, but if you're going to postpone your Social Security benefit until the age of 70, you might realize that life expectancy tables being what they are, the average life expectancy is only about a decade longer. All of these things, we don't have a crystal ball knowing the future, but to have a roadmap kind of laid out for you can be somewhat helpful with respect to planning. Some of these dates are going to be very important no matter what your plan looks like in detail. I have other videos where I talk about different retirement vehicles, different retirement plans, different strategies. If you found something of use in this video, I ask that you please like it, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be alerted to new content as it becomes available. I thank you so much for being with me today. Look forward to seeing you again in another video, and I wish you well with your retirement plan.